Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you're doing well. I'm doing well because today we're still talking about music and we're going to talk about a bit of a review of an album that I've brought up a few times on the channel. So I wanted to make sure that it got its due, that I gave it kind of, a bit more of a formal chit chat, not just a yik yak, because it's also deserving of the chit chat. And that is the self-titled album Bleachers by Bleachers. I almost said debut because generally speaking, a band will call their first album a debut, but not in this case. So here we have the CD copy there. There we got Jack Antonoff, the leader of the group on the front. There's the back. There's a great internal shot too. It's a gatefold CD, which is kind of fun. There we go. So who are Bleachers? Bleachers is sort of there's a band, obviously, but it's the solo kind of unit, solo output container for Jack Antonoff, who is Jack Antonoff, kind of rose to prominence with the band Fun. They were popular a number of years ago, over a decade ago. If you feel like feeling old, bring yourself back to the days of Gossip Girl, kind of in that time period. He was a member of the band Fun, who the album Some Nights, I think one of those hits was Some Nights, a great cadence, I think is what that style of song is called, as well as We Are Young, that also featured Janelle Monáe. That band parted ways. He's been a songwriter obviously for a long time, started kind of helming production roles. I believe the first production role that he had without any kind of songwriting input was with Carly Rae Jepsen on, I think, actually even her first album, so 2008. Let's go with that. Correct me. Fight me in the comments. 2008. That was a little aggressive. And then from there, he's worked with artists, more so with Carly Rae Jepsen, but the likes of Lana Del Rey, and perhaps most notably or prominently, Taylor Swift. I think especially, obviously, they had a history going back a number of albums, but I think during the kind of folklore into Evermore, there was a lot more sort of behind the scenes footage put out there on YouTube, to kind of sell those albums during the times that we don't remember lining up at grocery stores for. So people kind of paid more attention to that, as well as the Bleachers, the solo stuff. Now, what does Bleachers sound like? Does it sound like Carly Rae Jepsen or Lana Del Rey or Taylor Swift? No, not really. But a lot of those kind of contemporary modern songwriting techniques and hooks and methods of constructing something hooky and catchy are there. You hear that a lot. But especially on this album, very Bruce Springsteen. We got two sax players on here that are given more than a little bit of a nod to Clarence Clemens. But lyrically, Jack Antonoff, since the Bleachers have started, has shared a lot in common, not just because they're both from New Jersey with Bruce Springsteen. Lyrically, they have very, anthemic and memorable and triumphant choruses. They sing a lot about, love and loss and nostalgia and, looking back at a life that wasn't perfect, but it was mine, that kind of, and it was ours and it was a love and stuff that I think in the hands of a less talented producer and songwriter and band and musician would feel overly schmaltzy, overly saccharine, but it works really, really well. And this album, uh, I think it's a really good album. I think it's the main issue is the sequencing. It's certainly front loaded. We got 14 tracks on here, and I think for the most part, not entirely the case, but for the most part, all the tracks that I'm really drawn to were in the first half of that album. But what do you got on here? We open with I'm Right on Time, which is a really nice kind of opener. It feels really calm and pleasant to listen to. Next, you got Modern Girl. If you are into We Didn't Start the Fire by Billy Joel, boy, have I got a track for you. It's got that same kind of very like monotone staccato delivery, like ba 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 ba, and it's got that really Clarence Clemens saxophone stuff in there. If you check out one song from this album, check that one out. Modern Girl for sure is a great track. Track 3, Jesus is Dead. Catchy tune, but I'm like still riding that high from Modern Girl. So a lot of the time, if I'm listening to it, just kind of breezes through. Next, 4 and 5, we have two ballads in a row. We have Me Before You and Alma Mater. Alma Mater featuring Lana Del Rey, who's on this album a couple times. Same with Florence Welch from Florence and the Machine is on here a few times. I believe a few other kind of notable artists are featured, but you'll notice they're not actually seen as featured artists. which is interesting. So when you read kind of the little booklet here, take that out. You'll see, look on the back, which is all the credits. This is massive. Gets all gobbledygooked, on the camera. But all the tracks are produced. But you have Annie Clark, who does vocals on track 1, Cloud, who does talking and vocals on track 3, 10, 11. We got a trumpet, we got violin, piano, we got so many other vocalists on here. We got, Florence Welch vocals, Sam Dew on vocals for a number of tracks. Oh yeah, Clairo, another notable pop artist currently, doing vocals on 3 tracks, but it's for the most part backups, except a few of the Lana Del Rey ones are a bit more forward. So the 2 ballads, Me Before You Alma Mater, they're good, but why are they back to back? It feels a little bit of a sequencing error on there. If I had to pick, I like Me Before You a bit more. Here we go. Tiny Moves, I think maybe my second favorite track on the album. It was also the second single after Modern Girl. It's still upbeat, but a bit more of a love song. And I'm always a sucker. I always love a good love song, and that's what you got on here. Especially that you see a lot of his songwriting. There's a lot of good, like, waiting a quarter beat to deliver a certain line, and I really like that a lot. Track 7, Isimo, I think is lyrically my favorite track on the album. Very poetic, just some great lines, just about a broken childhood that you still look back on, and I like that one a lot. Track 8, Woke Up Today, feels like a nice coda, not for the album obviously, but for that last song. They kind of fit together really well. Self-Respect, I like that. Feels like not a Taylor Swift song lyrically, but the feeling that you get from it feels sort of Swiftian, something from Midnights potentially. Actually, production-wise, this has a bit of a Midnights feel to it, if you're familiar with that album. I'd say this is a bit more exciting. I found Midnights a bit one note or a bit dull. This one's a bit more dynamic than that. Then you get Hey Joe, track 10, which for me, this is, we're past the halfway point, but this is where I'm starting to kind of go like, okay, what else we got? Hey Joe, it's catchy, but it doesn't feel like quite a complete song. It's 2 minutes and change, but it doesn't feel like we get there. There's some really fun ideas in there. I like the chorus a lot. That's as far as we go for that. And the last 4 tracks are okay. Call Me After Midnight, We're Gonna Know Each Other Forever, Ordinary Heaven, and The Waiter. I feel like there's some decent and creative vocal use on this album. We're Gonna Know Each Other Forever overdoes it, and it just sounds painful to me, like that kind of vocodary auto-tune feeling. It was used too much at the beginning of the 2000s, I think. I think artists have since figured out how to use it as an instrument. Certainly Jack Antonoff has. This album, or this track, We're Gonna Know Each Other Forever, no, skip that one. Call Me After Midnight, I'm kind of into. And then the last 2, it's not a great closer, The Waiter and Ordinary Heaven. Ordinary Heaven is a good one, and I think if that was the closing closer, we might be having a bit of a different conversation. But that said, The Waiter just kind of, it's like, oh, that's a track. It sounds like I don't like the album, and the thing is, it's not the best thing I've ever heard, but I keep coming back to it. And I couldn't tell you why, like obviously the first half I really, really like. I talked incredibly highly about a lot of these songs, and a lot of them are on rotation. But I've been putting the CD in super frequently, more so than, I'm looking at my giant listening pile and I keep coming back to this one. I stream it more often. I'm like, I could listen to something new or an old classic that I know I like, but I keep putting this one on. And why is that? I don't know. There's some sort of magic on here. That said, I think a lot of people should check this out that might not normally check this out. That's kind of who I want this video to be for. And I don't know if you made it this far for me to hear that plea, but if you did, check out Modern Girl and maybe Isimo or Tiny Moves. If you're feeling sad and ballady, Isimo, and if you're feeling a bit more upbeat still, Tiny Moves. But Modern Girl for sure. And if you don't like it, then you won't like the rest of the great Bleachers catalog, like the track Roller Coaster, one of my personal favorites, along with Want to Get Better. But if there's something there, check out a few more of the singles. I think album-wise, the albums are really dynamic in terms of a unit. There's great singles on them, but they flow together well. If you're just clicking random songs, you're probably not going to find more that you're into. But check it out, because new music is out there and you never know when you're going to find your next favorite band. I mean, I've kind of found the Bleachers via a fluke of kind of seeing who Taylor Swift is working with and finding those connections. And I found out a songwriter that I'm really drawn to, and I really enjoy a lot of his music. So check out Bleachers. Bleachers came out on Dirty Hit on 2024 this year. And I'll catch you next time. Bye.